Hey kids, what's happening? Picked me up some new cabinets at the resale store the other day. I don't know if you've ever been in the resale store, but they have used stuff. Found these lights too for the front porch. They hang up like that on the porch roof, brand new. The ones we got up there are very similar to this, but they're all rusty and nasty, so I'll probably get on this project today and put up new porch lights. But today, my story is, have you ever had a motorcycle in the house? You ever had a Harley in the house? I have. But my story starts out, many years ago. It's probably back in the late 80s, and this wasn't my first motorcycle, but I found a guy that was selling a Yamaha 650 XS, a 650 Special. And back in the day, those were pretty cool bikes. 650, not as much power as some of the bikes today, but it was practical enough to move you around anywhere you needed to go. A nice looking bike. But when I went to buy the thing off the guy, he only wanted $500 for it. He told me, now the bike was like brand new. He hardly even rode it. I think he had maybe 500 miles on it. But the problem was, he said, I think there's something wrong with the engine, because when you start it up, it makes like a loud clattering noise, and I think one of the valves is going bad or something. So I thought, okay, for $500 and the price of a new one, I'll give him $500 for it. I'll take it home. I'll pull the motor out, see what's wrong with it. So I bought the bike, got it home. And back then I lived in the city, I lived in town, and I didn't have a garage. All the vehicles sat outside. So the motorcycle had to sit outside too, but I couldn't possibly work on the engine outside. So I got some boards and I made a ramp, and I got it up on the front porch, and I got it right into the house. And I pulled it all the way into the dining room. And there in the dining room, I had put down plastic and tarps on the floor, moved all the furniture out of there. And the dining room was my shop for the next month or so, where I pulled the motor out of the Yamaha, completely tore it down, and I couldn't find anything wrong with it. The valves were like brand new. Everything in the engine was like brand new. So I called up a buddy of mine who was a mechanic, a motorcycle mechanic, and he came over to look at it. And he's looking at the motor, and he says, hey, look right here, look at the case. He says, right here where the timing chain is, you can see where the timing chain's been hitting the case. Your timing chain is so loose, the adjustment's way out on it. He said, all you would have had to do is take this little lock nut off, tighten the screw up a little bit to take the tension, put a little more tension on your timing chain, and it would purr like a kitten. So after all that work, pulling the motor out, spreading it all over the dining room floor, I had to put it all back together again, and got it running, and it purred like a kitten. No more clattering and clacking. And I had that bike for a long time. I rode with a lot of guys that rode Harleys. So what I did with the Yamaha is I stripped all the Yamaha logos off of it, took it off the case, I repainted the gas tank and everything. I put a fairing on it and changed the seat and everything and kind of customized it. And most of the people that I rode with thought it was a British bike. They thought it was a Triumph or something of that nature, because the motor on the Yamaha 650 Special really kind of looked like a Triumph motor with the twin cylinders and the pipes coming down both sides. So that was my first story of having a bike in the house. Now, that didn't go over too well, but what are you going to do, When you don't have a garage, you got to work on it somewhere, and you can't afford, to do anything else, so you make ends meet the best you can. My second story goes up into the late 90s when I bought this thing. Brand new, and I brought it home here. Now, back then, I didn't have this garage. This wasn't here. This was just all woods. Neither did I have that shed out there. There was nothing here. So, brand new motorcycle, and parked it right here on the sidewalk. Well, that couldn't last too long, you know. I had a tarp covering it over, and I hated to leave it outside. You just don't want to do that to a motorcycle. So I had to come up with another plan. I had to get it inside the log house. So follow me around here to the back of the house. And this deck was here, but the porch roof wasn't there. And neither was this handrail right here wasn't here. So the steps were here. The rest of the handrail was there, but this section wasn't. So I got this brilliant idea. I went to the hardware store and I bought a piece of plywood, an 8-foot sheet of plywood, and I put it right up here like a ramp on these stairs. I thought, okay, I'll bring the Harley all the way around, and I'll turn around here and I'll shoot right up onto the back deck here. Oop. And here's the back door. I could wheel it right in the back door here and get it right into the dining room. Perfect idea. Well, I brought the Harley around, and I lined it up here to shoot straight up the stairs. I took a run and I started going up the stairs here, and I got right about here with my front tire almost up on top, and as you can see, well, it's been raining for the last couple days, but back then the grass was just as wet. The back tire was wet, and as soon as that back tire hit that plywood, it started spinning like it was on ice. Well, what could I do? You know, I'm sitting right here. I put my foot down on the plywood, but my foot slipped and the whole bike went over this way. I landed upside down right here with the bike on top of my leg. And if you've ever had an 800-pound motorcycle laying on top of you, now the wheels were still up here on the plywood, the handlebars were down, and the thing, I couldn't pick it up. So I'm laying there with this thing on my leg. Wasn't really hurt or anything, but you know, just like when something like happens that quick, you're like devastated, like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? You know, my motorcycle, it's upside down and it's on my leg, and I'm screaming for my son, you know. Finally he comes running around the side of the house, and I said, get this thing off of me, help me get this bike up. So he was able to lift it up. I got my leg out, and we got the thing back off of there and pulled it back off the plywood. That wasn't gonna work. I had to come up with another plan. Well, I went and dug around in the basement, and somehow, somewhere, I had some expanded steel, and I laid it, I had a strip maybe about, a foot wide, and I laid it right down the middle of the sheet of plywood, and that gave me enough traction that I was able to drive right up on the back deck, and then I jockeyed the bike around and was able to get it in the house. So I'd snake the handlebars through this door, get it in here, and at first, you know, I just parked it right here. Now, mind you, back in during that time of my life, that was my old life, we didn't have all this nice furniture. But I parked it right here, and it was always in the way. You couldn't pull the stools out, you couldn't sit at the table, because, you know, a Harley, it took up this whole area. So what I ended up doing was bringing it around here. Hello. All the way around, and parked it right there in front of the stairway. I had a nice Indian rug that I put on the floor there, and that's where the Harley sat. And even during Christmas, I would put, you know, mini lights all string all around it, make it like our Christmas tree. So yeah, not very practical to have the bike in the house, because it's not real easy to get it in there, and not very easy to get it out. So once you put it in the house, I was kind of committed to leaving it in there through the course of the winter. And then once you take it out, The deal was it pretty much stayed out. It wasn't a thing you just tried to snake back in the house every time you went for a ride. That was a little much. Now we have this wonderful garage. It's not heated, but I'll tell you what, these garage doors, they're white inside, but they're this dark brown on the outside. And when the sun's shining like it is today, this is warm. It's warm, and it's radiating heat in here. So it's like, it's 60 degrees inside. And it's a nice, it keeps the bike. I don't winterize my bike. It's always ready to ride, and I like it that way because, this is the very end. In fact, I think today is Halloween. Ooh. I could go for a ride today if I didn't have, I'm going to put these lights up today, so no ride. But I could. And there'll be days like this into November where I can go riding too. So I'm not going to winterize it. And I won't over the winter because even through the winter in the coldest parts of January, February, if I get the temperature up in here a little bit, I like to fire this up and just get the oil circulated back through the motor and everything. And I'm happy with it that way. When springtime comes, as soon as I get decent weather and the salt's going off the roads, I'm gone. I can go ride. So there you go, cats. That's the video for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a subscriber. Oh, you haven't subscribed yet? Well, do that right now. Click that red subscription button and get subscribed. Give me a thumbs up, like the video, and share it with your friends. And until next time, cats, ride hard and die free.